On with the video then. Welcome to Historyland, I'm Josh, and this is thoughts on Outlaw King 2. If my hair kind of changes between shots, it's because I've suddenly noticed a bit of sticking out, so it's kind of hard to control. It's a bit rebellious. Maybe I'll have to raise the dragon banner and, cut it down. No, I'm not really going to do that because I like my hair long. You know, what with all the talk about Robert the Bruce and Outlaw King, I thought this is a good opportunity to do a follow-up video to the one I did about the early stills that came out earlier in the year. I think it's only fair to make a follow-up video. History movies are the biggest excuse to insert the significance of the death of John Comyn randomly into a conversation ever. So instead of just criticizing stuff like this, I would really like to applaud the people who go out of their way to make TV shows based on historical events, which give people like me an excuse to just hop on the bandwagon. And yes, it's true, I'm nitpicking, but that's only because people who are out there writing about history and creating content about it realize as an audience they're hungry for more information. We're party crashers, plain and simple. So here we go. The armour, I noted, could have been better. I didn't need to be too worried about it because overall it was fine. I'm just going to come out and say I was worried really about nothing for that. Although we will come back to the armour later. I also mentioned coats of arms. And again, I think that it's safe to say there's plenty of coats of arms appearing on the major characters, and that's what we want to see. They're pretty colourful. True, I think some of the lesser knights and some of the men-at-arms could have been wearing a somewhat bigger variety of coats of arms, personal coats of arms, and small badges telling you what lord you're fighting for and which nation you identify with. But overall, coats of arms appear, they represent the characters, they have shields with them on, they have flags with them on, so worried about nothing. Having said all that, I do feel that there are some things that I was right to be concerned about. In fact, I'm certain about some of them. I'm not going to talk about actual narrative here. As soon as I found out that Edward II was at the Battle of Loudon Hill and gets captured and then is released, you can just basically throw the entire historical record out of the window, really. And you really just have to rely on going to watch the film on that disclaimer they all have that this is a work of fiction, and resemblance to characters real or implied is purely coincidental. The first one is the use of the dragon. A lot of people have looked into the use of the dragon banner, and they say that there's evidence to support the fact that this was a no quarter sign. So it's kind of harks back to the dragon banner of Wessex that was flown by the Earls of Wessex at the Battle of Hastings. A banner or talisman or whatever you might want to call it. It's usually represented as sort of a windsock. And it's also a little similar to other 11th century banners from Northern Europe as well, such as Harold Sigurdsson's Land Waster, which apparently could be animated by the wind. And he flew that to show that he meant business. But on the whole, yeah, it's an interesting thing to include, and it's obviously got some basis in historical records, so good stuff. But what everybody ignores after looking at that is that Edward II, I mean, why is he important in this show? Really, at this time? I don't know. But he's there, so why? Look at the knights. Look at what he's wearing on his surcoat. Look what he's wearing on his clothes. He's wearing a dragon on his clothes. He's men-at-arms. I think they're even wearing them on their clothes as well. And that means it's being used as a coat of arms and not as a sign of no quarter. So the banner, yes. Everybody wearing it, no. The second bit is a sort of a conglomeration of stuff that I talked about in the first video and at the beginning of the video. And I did retract, and I honestly do retract most of the comments about with the armor and weapons. But elements I can't really take back, because there's validity in thinking that they just went a little haywire due to, I don't know what, budget concerns or production concerns or something like that. But in summary, I do think it's too grey looking. They have tried to be a bit brighter, but they're following a particular movement in medieval movies, which took over from the old golden age of Hollywood movies, where everything was super bright and everything was super clean. Also, no lances for the English cavalry. They should have lances, basically. A knight is a self-contained combat system. He has a lance, he has a sword, he has a dagger. He probably has some sort of a more efficient close quarter weapon as well, if he can manage it. And the lance is the first thing he uses. As someone else pointed out, and as I pointed out in the first video, the mail, although it's really great that they used a lot of it, it doesn't fit. You can see all across medieval art, architecture, read inferences in texts and things like that, that the armor should fit, even chainmail should fit. It should cover your entire body. As a result of this, with the ill-fitting armor and the clothes which look both right and not right at the same time, essentially it doesn't look as medieval as it should. Now the biggest thing and the thing you'll notice through all of the action scenes, even if you just look at stills on the internet of other battles and stuff, and people talking about it, is the utter lack of helmets. You know? Okay, sure, fine. The first English cavalry charge, you obviously have a lot of guys wearing helms and helmets. And you have a couple of scenes of Bruce wearing a bassinet helmet. Also, some of his infantry are wearing small helmets, which, as another YouTuber pointed out, and I'll link these videos below for you, some of the helmets are very old-fashioned. Maybe that's a director call, because maybe these guys were poor and it's been handed down from family to family or something like that over generations. But point is, there are helmets to be seen. So that's a good thing, that I can't just flat out say it's bad for this. But what you cannot get around is that all of the main actors, all of the people your eye is drawn to, are not wearing helmets, I think, except maybe for Robert the Bruce and maybe one other guy. And almost all of the Scottish nobles don't wear helmets. The majority of the infantry don't wear helmets, even though I'm pretty sure Bruce went out of his way actually to make sure that most of his infantry had at least a steel cap. To have people like Edward II, who, he's some sort of a phantom being at Loudon Hill already, so maybe it doesn't matter. But Edward II not wearing a helmet, to have Robert the Bruce remove his helmet, to have someone of the status of Sir James Douglas or any of Bruce's close followers not wearing a helmet in battle is criminally insane for them. You'd seriously doubt their sanity. I don't think I need to preach to you guys to point out the logic of why these people wore very impressive, very well made, very strong helms with small slits. By the early 14th century, some of them even had visors. So, although a lot of the faceless bad guy troops have helmets, Edward II doesn't, Robert the Bruce doesn't, James Douglas doesn't, Clifford doesn't, Angus Og doesn't. So in summary, what's good? In general, everything. But within that, there's still things that you can talk about that could have been done better, and that people should realise wasn't the case at the time. The main things being the cavalry should have lances, and everybody of noble status should have a helmet. Of course, that's not going to do you as much good as some may think. It's not a foolproof defence system. Famously, Robert the Bruce cut a great helm in two on the first day of the Battle of Bannockburn, and that goes to show the two things we're talking about here. He was strong enough to cut a helmet in two, so imagine what he could do if the helmet wasn't there. He'd just be cutting people down like one of those other Hollywood movies. And he used an axe, which they obviously have him using in Outlaw King. So you have right there the two kind of the plus and con of what's just happened. Now, hopefully I'm going to be able to do more Robert the Bruce videos, because obviously next year you're getting another Robert the Bruce movie. I think he's one of the greatest characters in medieval history, and any excuse I can get to talk to people about history, I take. So, if you want to talk to me about it, I'd love you to leave a comment. And please then like the video, subscribe if you want me to make more. I'd love to grow the channel a bit, and make more videos for you if that's if people like what I'm doing. So this has been fun. Hope you like it. And I'll see you around for another video soon. So I'll see you guys later.